Hey everyone, my name's Hlebinsky. I'm the curator of the Cody Firearms Museum, and thanks to our wonderful assistant Danny, whom I'm trying to switch cameras, but apparently it doesn't want to. There he is. He's taller than I am. Thanks to our wonderful assistant curator Danny, he set up the live. If you've been reading his Facebook posts the past couple of months, he's been doing a great job for us, and we are giving this whole thing a chance. But right now we are live in Vault F. I saw yesterday someone said, does that mean there's a Vault A through F? And yes, there is. But there are two main vaults for every museum. Remember, we are just one of 5 museums at the Buffalo Bills Center of the West. So we are currently, and I'm in a chair, that's why I'm turning so gracefully. We are currently in our Vault F, which is our working vault. And what that means is that this is where we take guns that are temporarily off display, guns that we want to display, and we keep a lot of extra space so that we are able to kind of move around, put out some cardboard, do layouts, that kind of thing. So it's less gun dense than some of our other vaults, but it's got some pretty neat things in here right now. But I'll pan the camera out so you can kind of see the vault. Yay, there we go. So you'll notice we have a lot of guns out, and these were taken off display because we had a series of changes in our temporary exhibitions. But I'm going to go to this table first because this is probably the least exciting thing, although it's still very exciting. But you'll notice we don't have any ethafoam or protective material on this table. These are our educational firearms. And what that means is that we have a collection of reproductions. So it's the guns on this table, the ammo you see behind it, and also the guns on this rack. These are reproductions, and we use them in our galleries, and we let people get hands-on with them. These are the guns that you can touch without gloves, and people don't freak out. And they're just a really great way for us to get people hands-on with history, and they are currently in this vault because we're doing construction where they're normally housed, so the space is a little bit busier than normal. But a couple of the guns we recently took off display are the ones you see here. And I will go through what they are. I'm actually going to hand the phone to Danny because he's about a foot taller than I am, so you'll be able to get a better wide view of it. Alrighty. So the Top Gun is one that people kind of, they just love it. And we had to take it off display temporarily. We took it off towards the end of last season, because of an issue with the case. So we're having the case repaired, and then it will go back on display. A guy named Liver-Eating Johnson. And this is a Hawken rifle, and it's about 56 caliber, and we believe it was made in the late 1850s, early 1860s. And if you're familiar with the name Liver-Eating Johnson, it might be because of the Robert Redford film called Jeremiah Johnson, but his real name was John Johnston, but that was just less interesting for a movie. And the story behind this guy is that, well, there's 2 stories really. There's the mythology, and then there's also the written history. And John Johnston, the story goes that he was a mountain man, and in the late 1840s, his flat-headed Indian wife was killed by the Crow Indians, and he declared war on the Crow Nation. There's a book out called Crow Killer, and one of the other side parts of that story was that he would carve out the livers of his foes and eat them with he would use a Bowie knife. And this is his Bowie knife. This is one of his Bowie knives. Unfortunately, when you look at oral tradition versus written tradition, a lot of the oral histories place him in the Mexican-American War at the time that this story was supposed to take place. So we're not sure if there's a lot of truth to that story, but we do know that he moved out to this area. He was a constable in Red Lodge, and he passed away at a veterans hospital in Los Angeles in 1900. So it's one of the favorite guns of the American West. It's one of the most favorite guns in the Cody Firearms Museum, and people have been pretty upset that we have had it off display for the past month, so we're quickly getting it back on display. The little flintlock that you'll see below it is not actually supposed to be a flintlock. It belonged to a mountain man named Jedediah Strong Smith, and it was originally percussion. We know that because if you take the lock plate off, you can kind of tell based on the screws and the internal designs. Some person in the middle of the 20th century converted it to a flintlock. We're not sure how we feel about that. But we're not sure if we want to convert it back to its original configuration or keep it as part of the history that someone changed it. But Jedediah Strong Smith was a mountain man. You can kind of thank him for most of the mapping out in the American West. He traveled to California twice, was arrested both times. Really interesting guy, made most of the maps. You'll see a lot, there's a forest named after him, there's a lot of trails named after him. And he died on the Santa Fe Trail, his last trip out. He was traveling to Santa Fe and he went to get water and he never came back. And the men, they kind of continued on and they ended up finding these types of pistols, several pistols that belonged to him, being sold by an Indian merchant in Santa Fe. And so they knew that he had died. Someone's knocking on the door. That was not planned. Hi, Marguerite. Hi. Say hi to Marguerite, our head of PR, hi. And Jesse. They probably didn't expect to be on the camera. If you are any of you guys are Winchester collectors, you've probably talked to Jessie on the phone because she runs our records office. And she does a great job getting you factory records for Winchester